The first time Elena Carter was mistaken for Daniel Whitmore's wife, she should have corrected the woman immediately. She knew that. She knew exactly what she should have said. "I'm sorry, you've mistaken me for someone else." But she didn't. Because when Elena looked across the ballroom and saw the man everyone was calling a billionaire, something about the situation made her hesitate. Daniel Whitmore stood beneath a crystal chandelier surrounded by powerful businessmen, politicians, celebrities, and people whose names Elena had only ever seen in newspapers. He was 38, tall, impossibly composed, and so handsome that Elena understood immediately why half the women in the room kept finding excuses to look in his direction. But there was something else about him. He looked lonely. Even surrounded by hundreds of people, Daniel Whitmore looked like a man standing completely alone. Then the woman beside Elena smiled. "Mrs. Whitmore, I almost didn't recognize you." Elena's heart stopped. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The woman continued. "Daniel has been looking everywhere for you." Elena slowly turned toward him. Daniel looked directly at her. Their eyes met, and something strange happened. He didn't look confused. He didn't look angry. He simply studied her, as if he were trying to figure out what kind of woman would allow an entire room to believe she was his wife. Then he walked toward her, and Elena had no idea that before the night ended, she would kiss this stranger, sleep in his mansion, and agree to become his fake wife. What she didn't know was that months later, the same decision would put her life in danger. But first, we need to go back to the beginning. Elena Carter wasn't supposed to be at the Whitmore Grand that evening. She was supposed to deliver a folder and go home. That was it. She worked as a receptionist at a small law firm downtown, and her boss had sent her because one of the senior attorneys had suddenly become ill. The instructions were simple. Give this directly to Daniel Whitmore. Elena had almost laughed. Daniel Whitmore? Yes. Personally, yes. She looked at the thick folder. What exactly is inside? Her boss stared at her. You don't want to know. That answer only made Elena more curious, but she didn't ask again. She had learned that curiosity didn't pay rent. At 29, Elena had become very good at surviving. She lived in a modest apartment. She drove an old car. She bought clothes when she needed them, not when she wanted them, and every month she calculated her expenses carefully. She had no wealthy parents to rescue her, no boyfriend paying her bills, no inheritance waiting somewhere. She had herself, and that was enough. At least, she kept telling herself it was. Because beneath her calm exterior was a secret she rarely allowed herself to think about. Her father, William Carter. For 15 years, Elena had believed he had abandoned her. The world said he had stolen millions from Whitmore Holdings. He disappeared afterward. Her mother died believing her husband had betrayed them, and Elena had grown up carrying the shame. But 6 months earlier, she had discovered something strange. A financial document, one that suggested her father might not have stolen anything. Someone had moved the money through accounts he didn't control. And one name appeared repeatedly. Victor Hale. Elena didn't know why. She didn't know what it meant. But she had started looking for answers. And that was how she ended up at the Whitmore Grand. The ballroom was packed. Elena had never seen so much wealth in one place. Women wore diamonds around their necks like they were ordinary jewelry. Men discussed million-dollar investments over glasses of champagne. She felt like someone had accidentally opened a door into another world. Then she saw him. Daniel Whitmore. He was standing near the entrance when a waiter accidentally bumped into Elena. The folder fell, papers scattered across the marble floor. "Oh, I'm so sorry." She immediately crouched down. Another hand reached for a paper. Elena looked up. Daniel. For a second, neither spoke. He handed her the document. "You dropped this." "Thank you." His eyes moved to the folder. "Whitmore Holdings? My employer asked me to deliver it." "What firm?" she told him. Daniel nodded. "Thank you." He took the folder and walked away. Elena exhaled. That was easy. Or so she thought. She turned toward the exit. And that's when the woman stopped her. "Mrs. Whitmore?" Elena turned. The woman smiled. "Where have you been hiding?" "I think you have me confused with—" But before Elena could finish, the woman laughed. "Still playing hard to get?" Elena looked toward Daniel. He was watching. Then the woman said, "Your husband has been waiting all evening." Elena froze. Her husband? She looked at Daniel again. He was walking toward them, and for reasons Elena couldn't understand, he wasn't correcting the woman. Daniel stopped beside Elena. His expression was calm. "Everything all right?" The woman smiled. "Your wife was just pretending she didn't know me." Daniel glanced at Elena. Elena waited. He could correct her. He could tell everyone the truth. Instead, Daniel smiled. "She's always been shy around strangers." Elena's eyes widened. The woman laughed. "Enjoy your evening." She walked away. The moment she was gone, Elena whispered, "What are you doing?" Daniel looked at her. "Saving you." "From what?" Embarrassment. You just told her I'm your wife. So did you. I never said that. You didn't deny it. Elena stared at him. You're unbelievable. Daniel's mouth curved into a faint smile. You're interesting. I'm leaving. Wait. She stopped. Daniel lowered his voice. I need a favor. No. You don't even know what I'm asking. I know enough. He smiled. $20,000. Elena stopped. Daniel continued. For tonight. She turned slowly. What do you want me to do? Pretend to be my wife. She stared at him. You're serious? Completely. Why? My family is expecting me to announce an engagement tonight. With who? Victoria Hale. Elena's heart skipped. Hale? Daniel nodded. Victor Hale's daughter. Elena's mind immediately went to the documents she had been investigating. Victor Hale. The name she had been searching for. Daniel didn't notice the change in her expression. He simply said, I need a woman beside me tonight so my family stops pushing this marriage. Elena hesitated. $20,000. She could pay several months of rent, clear her debts, and perhaps finally investigate her father's case properly. Daniel watched her carefully. You can say no. Elena looked at him, then at the ballroom, then back at him. Fine. Daniel smiled. Fine. But only tonight. He extended his hand. Deal. She shook it. Neither of them knew that handshake would eventually change both their lives. The next morning, Elena expected the arrangement to end. Instead, Daniel sent a car for her. When she stepped outside her apartment, a black luxury sedan was waiting. The driver opened the door. Good morning, Mrs. Whitmore. Elena sighed. I'm beginning to think everyone is enjoying this more than I am. The driver smiled. Mr. Whitmore said you'd say that. She climbed inside. Where are we going? Shopping. Elena frowned. I have clothes. Mr. Whitmore disagrees. 20 minutes later, the car stopped outside one of the most expensive shopping districts in the city. Elena stared through the window. She had walked past these stores before. She had never imagined entering them. A stylist was waiting, then another, then a personal shopper. Within minutes, Elena was surrounded by racks of dresses, silk, satin, cashmere, designer gowns. She touched one dress. How much is this? The stylist smiled. $24,000. Elena immediately dropped it. Put it back. The stylist laughed. You don't have to worry about the price. I absolutely do. Then Daniel appeared. He had changed from his usual business suit into a simple dark shirt and trousers. He looked at Elena. She was standing in the middle of the boutique holding a dress like it was evidence from a crime scene. He smiled. What's wrong? She just told me this dress costs $24,000. Daniel looked at the dress. Get it. Elena stared at him. No. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Why? Because I'm not paying $24,000 for a dress I'll wear once. You're not paying. That makes it worse. He looked amused. You're arguing with a billionaire over a dress. Yes. Most people would say thank you. I'm not most people. Daniel's smile disappeared for half a second, then returned. No. He looked at the stylist. She's right. Elena looked surprised. Finally, Daniel picked up another dress. This one. The stylist nodded. Elena looked at the price. $31,000. She looked at Daniel. You have got to be joking. He laughed. And for the first time, Elena saw the man behind the billionaire. Not the cold CEO. Not the newspaper headline. Just Daniel. A man who found her outrage amusing. They spent the afternoon shopping. A black evening gown. A cream-colored dress. Shoes. A handbag. Jewelry. Even a coat Elena insisted she didn't need. At one point, Daniel picked up a pair of diamond earrings. These. Elena shook her head. Absolutely not. Why? Because they're probably worth more than my apartment. Daniel looked at her. Then we'll buy them. She stared at him. Do you enjoy making me uncomfortable? Actually, he smiled. I enjoy watching you argue with me. Elena tried not to smile. She failed. The stylist noticed. So did Daniel. And suddenly the shopping spree didn't feel like an arrangement anymore. It felt like two people getting to know each other. At the end of the afternoon, Elena walked out of the boutique carrying several bags. Daniel followed. She looked at him. You know something? What? This is ridiculous. What is? I've known you for less than 24 hours, and you've already spent more money on me than I've seen in some years. Daniel looked at her. Maybe I wanted to see you smile. Elena's smile faded slightly. Why? Daniel didn't answer. He simply opened the car door for her, and Elena couldn't stop thinking about those words. That evening, Elena stood in front of the mirror. The stylist had left. The mansion was quiet. She wore the black dress Daniel had chosen. It fit perfectly. Her hair fell softly over her shoulders. The diamond earrings caught the light when she moved. For the first time in years, Elena looked at herself and didn't see the woman struggling to survive. She saw a woman who belonged somewhere. There was a knock. Daniel entered. He stopped. Elena turned. What? He didn't answer. She smiled nervously. Is something wrong? No. Then why are you staring? Daniel took a slow breath. You look beautiful. Elena looked down. Thank you. He walked closer. Are you nervous? A little. Don't be. Easy for you to say. Daniel smiled. Stay beside me. And if they ask questions, I'll handle it. What if they ask how we met? I'll tell them the truth. Elena looked surprised. What truth? That I met a beautiful woman carrying a folder. He paused, and somehow convinced her to pretend to be my wife. Elena laughed. You make it sound romantic. Maybe it is. She looked at him. Neither spoke. Then Daniel held out his arm. Ready? Elena slipped her hand through his. Ready? And together, they walked downstairs. The evening went better than either expected. Elena played the role perfectly. She smiled. She laughed. She answered questions. When someone asked how long they had been married, Daniel answered smoothly. Long enough for her to know when I'm lying. Elena smiled. And he's terrible at it. People laughed. Daniel looked at her. There was something different in his eyes. Something warm. Later, after dinner, they escaped to the terrace. The city stretched below them. Thousands of lights glittered in the distance. Elena rested her hands on the railing. That was exhausting. Daniel stood beside her. You were impressive. I was terrified. You didn't look terrified. I was. Why? Because everyone was staring at me. Daniel looked at her. I was staring too. She turned. Why? Because I couldn't stop. Elena's breath caught. Daniel stepped closer. She could feel the warmth of him. Daniel. He stopped. If you want me to move away, I will. Elena looked into his eyes. She should have told him to move. She should have remembered that this was an arrangement. Instead, she whispered, Don't. Daniel reached up slowly and brushed a strand of hair away from her face. His fingers lingered near her cheek. Elena's heartbeat quickened. He leaned closer, then stopped again, giving her one last chance. Elena closed the distance. Their lips met, softly, almost hesitantly. It wasn't the kind of kiss Elena expected from a billionaire who seemed so confident. It was gentle, careful, as though Daniel was afraid that moving too quickly would make the moment disappear. Elena's hand rested against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat. He pulled away slightly. Their foreheads touched. Neither spoke. Then Elena smiled. This wasn't part of the agreement. Daniel smiled back. I know. She looked at him. Then why did you do it? He whispered. Because for the first time tonight. He paused. I forgot we were pretending. Elena's heart broke open. Because she had forgotten too. Elena woke the next morning in the guest room of Daniel's mansion. For several seconds, she stared at the ceiling. Then she remembered. The dinner. The shopping. The kiss. She covered her face with her hands. This is bad. There was a knock. Daniel stood outside. Breakfast? Elena opened the door. I think we need to talk. Daniel smiled. I was thinking the same thing. They sat across from each other at breakfast. Daniel pushed a cup of coffee toward her. I don't regret last night. Elena looked at him. Neither do I. Good. But this... She hesitated. This can't become complicated. Daniel's expression changed. Why? Because we're pretending. Then maybe we should stop pretending. Elena looked away. She couldn't. Not yet. She still had questions. About Victor. About her father. About why Victor Hale's name kept appearing in the old documents. And Daniel had no idea. He didn't know who she really was. He didn't know why she had agreed so quickly. And most importantly, he didn't know that Elena had another reason for staying close to him. She wanted the truth. Daniel offered Elena a new agreement. 1 month. She would stay with him publicly as his wife. They would attend important events together. She would receive enough money to solve her immediate financial problems. At the end of the month, they would go their separate ways. Simple. Professional. No feelings. That was the plan. But plans rarely survive contact with the heart. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and Elena became inseparable. They ate dinner together. They argued over movies. She teased him about his terrible cooking. He learned that Elena hated roses but loved sunflowers. She learned that Daniel secretly loved old jazz records. He began coming home earlier just to see her. And Elena started forgetting why she had entered his life. Then Victor Hale began watching. Victor saw Elena at a charity event. He stared at her for several seconds. Then he asked his assistant, Who is she? Daniel Whitmore's wife. Victor's eyes narrowed. Her name? Elena Whitmore. Victor shook his head. No. The assistant looked confused. Victor pulled out an old file. Inside was a photograph. A much younger Elena, standing beside her father, William Carter. Victor stared at the photograph, then he smiled. So, he whispered, she came back. But he didn't tell Daniel. Not yet. Because Victor had spent 15 years waiting for an opportunity like this. And now, Elena had walked directly into his hands. Daniel's feelings for Elena became impossible to hide. One evening he returned home late. Elena was asleep on the sofa. A book had fallen onto the floor. Daniel stood there watching her. He gently picked up the book and placed a blanket over her. Elena opened her eyes. You're home. Yes. What time is it? Almost midnight. You should sleep. So should you, she smiled. Daniel sat beside her. I missed you. Elena looked at him. You saw me this morning. I know. Then why did you miss me? Daniel smiled. I don't know. Elena looked away. Neither of them realized it yet, but the fake marriage was becoming very real. While Daniel fell in love with her, Elena continued investigating Victor. Late one night, she found another document. It contained a transfer from Victor's company to an offshore account. The date was the same month her father disappeared. Elena's hands trembled. There was only one problem. She needed access to an old Whitmore archive, and the only person who could authorize that access was Daniel. She couldn't tell him why, so she waited, and waited, until Daniel accidentally walked into her room while she was looking at the documents. He saw the papers. What's that? Elena quickly closed the folder. Nothing. Daniel looked at her. Elena. She smiled. It's just work. He believed her, and that made Elena feel even worse, because she knew she was lying to the man she was beginning to love. Victor began planting doubts. He didn't accuse Elena directly. He simply asked questions. Are you sure you know your wife? Daniel ignored him, until Victor showed him an old photograph. Daniel stared at it. William Carter, the man everyone believed had stolen from Whitmore Holdings. Daniel had never seen him in person, but the photograph was unmistakable. Victor said, Ask Elena why she knows so much about him. Daniel looked at him. What are you implying? Nothing. Victor smiled. I'm simply warning you. Daniel took the photograph. He didn't confront Elena immediately. Instead, he began investigating, and eventually, he found her name. Elena Carter, William Carter's daughter. Daniel stared at the screen. His heart sank. The woman he had begun to trust had been connected to the one scandal his family had spent years trying to forget. But why? That was the question he couldn't answer, and the answer would hurt more than he expected. Daniel waited for Elena to return. She walked through the door. Daniel? He stood in the living room. Who is William Carter? Elena froze. The room became silent. She knew. The moment she saw his face, she knew. You know. Daniel's voice was quiet. You're his daughter. Elena swallowed. Yes. How long have you known who I was? I knew your name when I met you. Daniel looked away. So the entire thing was planned. No. You came into my life because of my family. I came into your life because I was trying to find out what happened to my father. Daniel's eyes hardened. You used me. At first. She stepped closer. But I never planned to love you. Daniel looked at her. And now? Tears filled her eyes. Now you're the only thing I don't want to lose. Daniel said nothing. Elena walked toward the door. This time, he didn't stop her. Victor thought he had won. Daniel and Elena were separated. Daniel was angry. Elena was alone. And the Whitmore family was divided. Exactly what Victor wanted. But he had made one mistake. He underestimated Elena. She had kept copies of every document she discovered, and Daniel had kept the photograph Victor gave him. Together, those pieces revealed something. The documents Victor had planted contained a signature that was impossible. The ink was wrong. The account number didn't exist when the transaction supposedly occurred. Victor had forged the evidence, and Elena finally understood. Victor hadn't simply framed her father. He had spent years manipulating everyone around him. The scandal, the business alliance, the proposed marriage between Victoria and Daniel, even the current chaos. It was all part of one plan. Control Whitmore Holdings. For 3 days, Daniel didn't call Elena. 3 days. To Elena, it felt like 3 years. She stayed in her small apartment, surrounded by the expensive clothes Daniel had bought for her. The black dress was hanging behind her bedroom door. The diamond earrings were still inside their box. The handbag Daniel had chosen for her sat untouched on the table. Everything reminded her of him. And that made everything hurt even more. She had entered Daniel's life because she needed answers. She had agreed to pretend to be his wife because she needed money. But somewhere between the shopping trips, late-night conversations, quiet breakfasts, and stolen glances, she had stopped pretending. She had fallen in love with him, and now he probably believed every moment between them had been a lie. Elena sat on the edge of her bed, holding the photograph of her father. Her phone lay beside her. She picked it up. Daniel's name was still at the top of her messages. Her thumb hovered over it. She typed, "Daniel, please let me explain." She stared at the message, then deleted it. She typed again, "I never wanted to hurt you." Deleted. Again, "I love you." She stared at those 3 words for several seconds, then she locked the phone. She couldn't send them, because love didn't erase what she had done. She had lied, and she knew it. But there was something Daniel didn't know, something Victor didn't know she had discovered. A second set of documents. And Elena was beginning to realize that those documents might be the only thing capable of saving Daniel from the man who had destroyed her family. Elena returned to the law firm. Her boss looked surprised when he saw her. "I thought you were taking time off." "I was." "What happened?" "Nothing." He studied her face. "You look exhausted." Elena smiled faintly. "I haven't been sleeping." She walked into the records room. The old files were stored in metal cabinets along the walls. She searched for the Carter case. After nearly an hour, she found it. The file was thinner than she remembered. Too thin. She opened it. Inside were copies of bank statements, investigation reports, and correspondence. Then she noticed something. One page was missing. The numbering went from page 47 to page 49. Page 48 was gone. Elena frowned. She checked the original case log. Page 48 contained the original transaction record, the transaction that supposedly proved her father had stolen the money. Elena's heart started beating faster. Someone had removed the most important page from the file. But why? She searched the firm's archive system. There was a scanned copy. She opened it. Her eyes widened. The account number listed on the document didn't belong to her father. It belonged to a company Elena had never heard of. Hale Strategic Ventures. Victor Hale. Elena whispered. "No." She printed the document. Then she noticed something even more disturbing. The transaction date was 3 days after her father had supposedly transferred the money. Which meant one thing. The evidence used to convict her father had been fabricated. Elena's hands began to shake. Her father hadn't stolen the money. Victor had created the evidence. But why? And how had he convinced everyone to believe it? Then Elena heard footsteps behind her. She turned. Nobody was there. But the door to the records room was slowly closing. At the same time, Daniel was sitting alone in his office. He hadn't slept properly since Elena left. His employees had noticed. His father had noticed. Even his security team had noticed. But nobody dared ask questions. Daniel kept looking at the photograph Victor had given him. William Carter. Victor Hale. Daniel's father. 3 men. 1 photograph. 1 secret. He picked up his phone and called his father. "Dad, I need to ask you something." His father's voice was calm. "Of course. Did you know William Carter?" There was a long silence. Daniel immediately noticed. "You did." "Yes. Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because I was trying to protect you." "From what?" His father sighed. "Your father's generation made mistakes." Daniel leaned forward. "Did William steal from the company?" "No." Daniel froze. "What?" "I said no." Daniel stood. "Then why was he blamed?" "What?" "Because someone wanted him blamed." "Who?" His father didn't answer. "Dad, I can't discuss this over the phone." "Then tell me in person." Another silence. Finally his father said, "Come home." Daniel drove to his father's house immediately. When he arrived, his father was waiting in the study. He looked older than Daniel remembered. Tired. Almost defeated. Daniel sat opposite him. "Tell me everything." His father stared at him. "Victor Hale was dangerous long before you ever met him." Daniel's jaw tightened. "What did he do?" "He wanted control of the company." "And William?" "He discovered what Victor was doing." Daniel stared at him. "So Victor framed him?" "Yes." Daniel closed his eyes. Then the question that had been haunting him finally came out. "And Elena?" His father looked at him. "She is William's daughter." "I know." "Then you should understand why Victor is afraid of her." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "What does she have?" His father whispered, "Something Victor has spent 15 years trying to find." Elena returned to her apartment with the document. She spread everything across her dining table. The original case file. The bank statement. The Hale Company records. Her father's old correspondence. Then she noticed a name. A witness. Someone who had worked at the bank where the money had supposedly been transferred. The witness had signed a statement claiming that William Carter personally authorized the transfer. But there was something wrong. The witness had died 2 years before the statement was supposedly signed. Elena stared at the page. "How?" Her phone rang. "Unknown number." She answered cautiously. "Hello?" Nobody spoke. Then a man's voice whispered, "Stop looking." Elena froze. "Who is this?" "You don't know what you're dealing with." "Who are you?" The line went dead. Elena stared at the phone. Then another message arrived. A photograph. Her father. Standing outside a train station. Alive. Elena stopped breathing. The picture had been taken only 6 months earlier. Her father was alive. She had spent 15 years believing he was gone. Now she knew. Someone had found him, or someone wanted her to believe they had. Daniel found Elena the next morning. She was sitting alone at a small cafe. He stopped beside her table. She looked up. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Elena whispered, "Daniel, I need the truth." She looked down. "You already know it." "No." He sat opposite her. "I know your father was framed." Elena's eyes widened. "How?" "My father told me." She looked at him. "Your father knew?" "Yes." Elena's voice trembled. "Then why didn't he tell me?" "Because he was trying to protect you." She laughed bitterly. "That's what everyone says." Daniel stared at her. "I also know Victor is behind this." Elena looked surprised. "You believe me?" "I don't know what to believe." The words hurt. Daniel continued. "But I know something else." "What?" "The woman I fell in love with wasn't fake." Elena's eyes filled with tears. Daniel looked away. "Was she?" "No." "Then tell me." Elena took a deep breath. "I came into your life looking for the truth." Daniel nodded. "I know. I didn't know I would meet you. I know. I didn't plan the fake marriage. I know. I didn't plan the kiss." Daniel looked at her. "Neither did I." A tear rolled down her cheek. "But I did hide things from you." "Yes. I was afraid." "Of me?" "No." She looked at him. "Of losing you." Daniel's expression softened. But he didn't reach for her. "Not yet. We can't fix this in one conversation." Elena nodded. "I know." Daniel stood. "But maybe we can find the truth." For the first time since Elena left the mansion, she and Daniel stood on the same side. Not as husband and wife, not as lovers, but as two people who had been manipulated by the same man. They began investigating Victor. Daniel used his corporate records. Elena used her father's old files. They compared everything. Dates, accounts, names, transactions, meetings. Then they discovered something. Victor had been moving money through several shell companies for years, but there was one company that appeared in every transaction. A company registered under a different name, Carter Consulting. Elena stared at the screen. "My father's company." Daniel frowned. "That company was closed 15 years ago." "Exactly. So why is it still receiving money?" Elena looked at him. "Because someone kept it alive." Daniel's face hardened. "Victor." They traced the account. The money was being transferred to a private vault. A physical vault. Not a bank. Daniel immediately contacted his security team, but before they could move, Victor called Daniel. "You're looking in the wrong place." Daniel's expression changed. Victor continued. "Come to my office." "Why?" "Because I have something that belongs to your wife." Daniel froze. "What?" Victor laughed softly. "Come alone." Victor's office overlooked the city. Daniel entered alone. Victor was standing beside the window. "You came. Where is Elena's father?" Victor smiled. "So you found out." Daniel's fists tightened. "You know where he is." "I know where many things are." "Tell me." Victor turned around. "You want the truth?" "Yes." "Then give me Whitmore Holdings." Daniel laughed coldly. "You're insane." Victor shook his head. "No. I'm patient." He walked toward the desk. "For 15 years I've watched your family grow stronger." He placed a file on the table. I waited. Another file. Then Elena appeared. Another. And suddenly, everything became possible. Daniel stared at him. "You used her." Victor smiled. "I used everyone." Daniel's face hardened. "What happened to William?" Victor's smile disappeared. "He became a problem. You destroyed his life. I protected my future." Daniel stepped closer. "You framed an innocent man." Victor looked at him. "And now I'm giving you a choice." "What choice?" "Walk away from Elena." Daniel stared at him. "No." Victor smiled. "Then you'll lose everything." While Daniel was confronting Victor, Elena followed another lead. The photograph. The train station. She traced the location. It led to a small town several hours away. She drove there alone. She found an old bookstore. The owner looked at her, then smiled. "You look just like him." Elena stopped. "Like who?" The man nodded toward the back room. "Your father." Elena's legs almost gave out. She walked through the doorway. And there he was. William Carter. Older. Gray hair. A tired face. But unmistakably her father. Elena couldn't speak. He stood. "Ellie?" That nickname broke her. She ran into his arms. For several minutes neither said anything. They simply held each other. Then Elena pulled away. "Why did you leave me?" Her father's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't." "Then why?" "I was threatened." "By Victor?" William nodded. "He told me if I exposed him, you and your mother would die." Elena covered her mouth. "I thought you abandoned us. I wanted to come back every day." He paused. "But I was afraid." Elena cried. "I hated you." "I know. I waited for you." "I know." He pulled her close. I'm sorry. For 15 years, Elena had carried anger that didn't belong to her. Now she finally understood. Her father hadn't abandoned her. He had sacrificed his life to keep her alive. William had kept one thing all these years. A small metal box. Inside was the original evidence. The documents Victor had failed to destroy. Original bank statements, signed agreements, a recording, and one letter. The letter was written by Victor. It contained a confession. Not a direct confession to framing William. Something even more valuable. A detailed record of the money Victor had stolen from Whitmore Holdings. Elena called Daniel. He answered immediately. Where are you? I found my father. Daniel closed his eyes. He's alive? Yes. Then Elena told him about the box. Daniel's voice became urgent. Don't move. Why? Victor knows we're investigating him. I know. I'm coming to you. But before Daniel could leave, the lights in his office went out. His security system had been disabled. He heard footsteps. Daniel turned. Victor's men entered. Daniel fought his way out. But Victor had anticipated everything. The company accounts were frozen. The board was called into an emergency meeting. Victor had prepared documents claiming Daniel was mentally unstable and had been manipulated by Elena. He wanted the board to remove Daniel, but Victor hadn't counted on one thing, Daniel's father. He walked into the boardroom. Everyone turned. He placed a folder on the table. Before anyone votes, he looked at Victor. You should read this. Victor's face changed. Daniel opened the folder. The original evidence. Victor's shell companies. The hidden accounts. The forged signatures. The payments. The threats. Everything. Victor stood. You don't understand what you're doing. Daniel looked at him. No, he paused. I finally understand exactly what you're doing. The authorities entered. Victor looked around. For the first time, the confident billionaire disappeared. He looked frightened. He turned toward Elena. You think this ends here? Elena stood beside Daniel. Yes. Victor laughed. You're just like your father. Elena looked at him. No. She shook her head. I'm stronger than the woman you thought you could destroy. Victor was arrested, and this time, there was nowhere left for him to hide. After Victor's arrest, everything became quiet. Too quiet. The company survived. William's name was cleared. The stolen money was recovered. Victor's empire collapsed. But Elena and Daniel still had something to fix. Their relationship. Daniel found Elena standing alone in the garden. He approached slowly. Can we talk? She nodded. I owe you an apology. Elena looked at him. For what? For believing the worst of you. You had every reason. No. Daniel shook his head. I had reasons to be hurt. He stepped closer. But I should have asked you for the truth instead of letting Victor tell me what to believe. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I should have told you. Yes. I was afraid. I know. I didn't want to lose you. Daniel smiled sadly. You almost did. Elena looked down. I know. He reached for her hand. She let him. I don't want a fake marriage, Daniel said. Elena looked up. Neither do I. I don't want secrets. Neither do I. And I don't want you because of some arrangement, she smiled through her tears. Then why do you want me? Daniel looked directly into her eyes. Because when you walked into my life, I was lonely. He squeezed her hand. And somehow, without trying, you made this enormous house feel like home. Elena cried. Daniel wiped a tear from her cheek. I love you. She closed her eyes. I love you too. Daniel didn't propose that night. He waited. Because Elena deserved more than a proposal immediately after surviving betrayal. He took her back to the hotel where they first met. The same ballroom, the same chandeliers, the same terrace. Elena looked around. You brought me here? Yes. Why? Because this is where everything started. She smiled. Everything went wrong here. Daniel laughed. That's one way to describe it. They walked onto the terrace. The city lights were exactly as they had been that first night. Daniel turned toward her. The first time you stood beside me, everyone thought you were my wife. Elena smiled. And you didn't correct them. You didn't either. I was scared. So was I. She laughed. You? Yes. Of what? Of you. Elena stared at him. Why? Because I knew immediately that you were going to change my life. He reached into his pocket. Elena's eyes widened. Daniel. He dropped to one knee. This time, there was no contract, no money, no family pressure, no business arrangement, no pretending, just Daniel. I don't want you to pretend anymore. He opened the ring box. I want you to be my wife. Elena covered her mouth. Daniel smiled. Not because you're beautiful. She laughed through her tears. Not because you're brave. He paused. Not because you're the woman who helped me destroy Victor. His voice softened. But because you're Elena. He looked into her eyes. The woman who made me laugh when I forgot how. A tear rolled down Elena's cheek. The woman who taught me that money can't buy peace. Another tear. And the woman I can't imagine spending the rest of my life without. He held out his hand. Will you marry me? Elena didn't answer immediately. She looked at the man she had once met as a stranger. The man she had lied to. The man she had fallen in love with. The man who had eventually chosen to believe her again. Then she smiled. Yes. Daniel stood. She threw her arms around him. He held her tightly, then kissed her. Not like their first kiss. That first kiss had been uncertain, careful, forbidden. This one was different. It carried relief, forgiveness, love, and the certainty that neither of them was pretending anymore. 1 year later, Elena walked into the same hotel. This time, there was no confusion. No one asked who she was. No one questioned why she was standing beside Daniel. She was Mrs. Whitmore. But she hadn't changed. She still visited her father every weekend. She still remembered the tiny apartment where she had once worried about rent. She still refused to spend ridiculous amounts of money on things she didn't need. Although Daniel had learned that arguing with her about shopping was pointless. At their anniversary dinner, Daniel leaned toward her. Do you remember the first dress I bought you? Elena smiled. The one that cost $24,000? Yes. I still can't believe you paid that much. You looked beautiful. You could have bought me something for $200. Daniel laughed. Then I wouldn't have seen that expression on your face. What expression? The one that made me fall in love with you. Elena smiled. You fell in love with me because I yelled at you over a dress. Apparently. She laughed. Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. I'd do it all again. Elena looked around the room. The same chandeliers, the same marble floors, the same city lights outside, but everything felt different. Because the woman who had once entered this place pretending to be a billionaire's wife was now standing beside the man she genuinely loved. And this time, there was nothing fake about it. Sometimes, the biggest mistake of your life becomes the doorway to the life you were always meant to have. Elena entered Daniel's world because she needed money. She stayed because she needed answers. But somewhere between the lies, the secrets, the shopping sprees, the stolen kiss, and the danger, she found something she had never expected. A man who saw her. A family she thought she had lost. And the truth about a father she had spent 15 years believing had abandoned her. Victor thought he could control everyone. He believed money could buy loyalty. Fear could silence people, and secrets could remain buried forever. But he forgot one thing. The truth doesn't stay buried forever. Eventually, someone finds it. And sometimes, the person who finds it is the very person you tried hardest to destroy. If you enjoyed Elena and Daniel's story, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for more emotional stories, filled with love, betrayal, secrets, and unexpected twists. And I want to know what you think. If you were Daniel, would you have forgiven Elena after discovering that she entered your life while secretly investigating Victor? Or would the betrayal have been too painful? Tell me in the comments. And if you believe Elena and Daniel deserved their happy ending, leave a heart below.